Hello there. Last year I was at home alone, sitting in my sitting room, and I had these strange feelings, tension in my stomach and churning in my stomach. My mouth was dry. My hands were sweaty and my heart was pumping hard. It was really, really tense. So can I just ask you to ask yourself, what emotion do you think I was having? And many of you, I'm sure, will say words like stress or anxiety. And I say, no. Scotland had just beat England at rugby, which is not a very common event. So what emotion was I having? Excitement. So I ask myself, how is it that two completely different emotions, anxiety or stress, and excitement or celebration, could have exactly the same bodily symptoms? Beating heart, dry mouth, churning stomach, tense muscles, sweaty skin. Well, the answer is that these symptoms of your body and brain, what we often call the fight or flight reaction, are simply a preparation to act. They're just your body getting ready for something. Your brain getting ready for something. And your brain and body don't really care whether that something is running away, or fighting, or celebrating. So how do we know what emotion we're having in that case? How did I know that I was excited and not anxious? Well, the answer to that is reasonably simple. It's context. I was sitting at home on my sofa watching television with a beer in my hand, so that context told me to interpret these symptoms as symptoms of excitement. Had I been walking down a dark road and saw a group of figures approaching me, I might have interpreted that completely different, as anxiety. So emotions like anger, anxiety, and excitement very easily get mixed up. They only become particular one of these emotions by the label we put on them, by how we interpret them. So here's the good news. Supposing your child is very nervous before a test or an exam, or very nervous going into school. Children love to have this explained to them, that funny feeling in their tummy, or these feelings of beating heart and these symptoms, they're just as much symptoms of excitement as they are of anxiety or fear or stress. And you can actually magically jujitsu one emotion into another by how you describe them to yourself. Because you have inside your brain, which is the most complex entity in the known universe, you have inside your brain the capacity to reshape and reconfigure one emotion into another. So here's a tip for you, your family, your children. When you get these feelings, don't get sucked into them and sucked into the thoughts of threat and fear and anxiety. Say to myself, oh, I'm excited. It's not always easy, but it's something you can do, say before you have to talk, a difficult conversation you have to have. And to say to yourself, wow, I'm getting ready for action. I'm excited here. And if you do that by just that one word, you actually can create a quite different state of your mind and of your brain that makes it more likely that you will perform well in the exam, or in that conversation, or in that confrontation, or in that difficult situation you're trying to face with. So that's my first tip, is to realize that these horrible symptoms, which can be horrible, can change in their complexion by how you see them in your mind, how you think about them. So I'm now going to give you a second tip. Just think to yourself now, how stressed do you feel on a thermometer from 0 to 100? 0 is completely relaxed and totally unstressed, and 100 is just climbing the wall. Where are you just now? So think of that number. So now what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to close your eyes, and I'm going to do this as well. And I want you to breathe in slowly to the count of 4, your own count of 4, and out to the count of 6. So just breathe in slowly through your nose, if you can, to the count of 4, and out the count of 6. So let's do that. We'll do it 3 times, and I'm going to do it as well. Breathe in. Do it again, a couple more times. Breathe into 4 through your nose and out to 6 through your mouth. Now I want you to take another thermometer reading of your stress. Where are you? Has that number changed? Mine has. I was feeling a bit a lot to do, and I'd say it's gone down by about 10 points. Why is that? Breathing in that way changes your brain. It changes it because the carbon dioxide levels in your blood change with your breath. And if you breathe longer in the out breath, when you do it slowly, and particularly breathing in through your nose, you change the chemistry of your brain, and particularly a chemical messenger called noradrenaline. You don't have to worry with that jargon, but noradrenaline's part of the fight or flight system. So at any one time, you can control partly these symptoms I was talking about at the beginning, the fight or flight symptoms. You can control them with your breath. You can reduce them. So here's my tip for you. It's very hard to remember to do that breathing when we're in a stressful situation. Why? In a stressful situation, we don't have the mental space to remember to do it. But more than that, when we're stressed, many of us, including me, tend to breathe faster, maybe even hold our breath. And what that does is to change carbon dioxide levels in our blood and increase the chemical messenger noradrenaline in our brain to levels that are too high and interfere with our brain functioning and make it harder to think coolly and solve the problem rather than behaving emotionally. So what you have to do is you have to practice this breathing exercise hundreds of times before you get into that stressful situation. And here's when to do that. Do it whenever you change task. From washing the dishes to sitting down for a cup of tea, in that gap, just before you make the cup of tea, take 20 seconds to breathe. before you get up in the morning, just before you pull yourself out of bed, put on your slippers, just take the 20 seconds to breathe. Before you act on that angry feeling at what that person has said or done, before you just do that thing or say that thing, take 20 seconds to breathe. Before you check your email or check your Facebook or you check your texts, you're going to reach to pick out your phone. Stop and breathe for 20 seconds. Once you've done that several times a day for several days, that will become a bit of a habit. And when you're in that really tough, stressful situation, you're more likely to remember to give your brain a better chance of performing well in confronting that difficult situation by pressing that reset button in your brain, which is what you're doing with your breath, and breathing in for 4. And out for 6. Very best of luck.